In episode 9 of My Demon, we pick up where we left off, with Guan and Do-hee locked in a passionate embrace. As they share a tender moment, Guan reassures Do-hee that his powers have returned in full, bringing a sense of relief to her, knowing that he can protect her once more. They retreat to their home, where they finally consummate their marriage. The next morning, they decide to indulge in a cute breakfast date at the very hotel where their paths first crossed. Guan is thrilled about Do-hee having a day off, insisting they engage in couple activities. He even sulks when the restaurant informs them that couple-themed meals won't be available until the holidays. Still, they make the best of their day, enjoying a heartwarming date near the Han River. During their time together, Do-hee helps Guan understand human emotions. And though he's surprised by how deeply he feels for her, he gets a little pouty when she refuses to call him hubby. Their cuteness together is absolutely irresistible. However, unbeknownst to them, Suan is following their every move, snapping photos in secret. When their fun-filled day comes to an end, Do-hee's mood takes a dark turn upon hearing a song that Guangchol played during his attempt to kill her. Guan, noticing her distress, takes her hand and asks her to dance to the song, helping her replace that fear with new, joyful memories. His devotion to her is evident in these thoughtful gestures. Meanwhile, Sukmin is planning a takeover, instructing the company's shareholders to speed up the process for electing a new chairperson. He confides in his inner circle, revealing his intention to manipulate Do-gyung emotionally, just as his mother did to him, to push him toward ambition. Sukmin is determined to use Do-gyung as a pawn in his schemes. Do-gyung, on the other hand, receives a mysterious message on a second phone, which he lies about to his father, claiming it's merely for romantic affairs. At the same time, Sukmin receives a message from someone known as the Enforcer, inquiring about his silence and asking if he has abandoned their shared mission. We are also treated to a flashback where Sukmin remembers his mother, Cheon-suk, in the hours before her death. She had been frantically trying to cleanse herself, muttering about washing away her sins. And Sukmin believes she detested him and their family because she saw herself reflected in their moral corruption. He reflects on how much she resented her own bloodline. The next day, Do-hee and Guan wake up in great spirits, but their mood sours when Da-jung calls to inform Do-hee that Sukmin has sent over legal documents for her to formally relinquish her inheritance. Guan advises her to take her time and promises that, with his powers back, he will keep her safe. But Do-hee insists that signing the papers is a small price to pay for peace, stating she's been genuinely happy lately and just wants to move on. Guan, however, is determined not to let her give up so easily. He proposes that they find Guangchol before she makes any final decisions. Though Do-hee agrees to this, she maintains that even catching the culprit won't change her mind. Guan attempts to use his powers to track Guangchol but is dismayed when he fails. He suspects that he might not be fully charged and hopes to try again later. Later, Seok-hoon pays Do-hee a visit, expressing his concern that she's acting unlike herself since meeting Guan. Although he tries to persuade her that she'll regret her decision, she assures him that she's made peace with it. Before leaving, Seok-hoon confronts Guan, hinting that he suspects something supernatural about him, possibly even wondering if he's a vampire. Guan brushes it off, teasing that Seok-hoon might have a personal interest in him. They exchange words. Seok-hoon presses Guan about standing by while Do-hee gives up her inheritance, but Guan remains resolute that he has a plan. However, it might be too late. Do-hee signs the papers, asking Da-jung to join her for drinks in celebration of this new chapter. Meanwhile, Guan enlists the help of the wild dogs to track Guangchol, using the sketch he provided from his brief glimpse of the culprit's face. He also warns Ga-young to stay out of his and Do-hee's business, declaring that it's his destiny to protect her, no matter the cost. As the night falls, Do-hee and Da-jung drink heavily, bonding over their shared sacrifices and struggles. In her intoxicated state, Do-hee calls Guan to pick her up, who is shocked to find her so drunk. He tries to cut her off from any more alcohol, and when things get out of hand with Da-jung, he calls Bok-gyu to take her home. Bok-gyu, frustrated with the situation, notices that the full moon is drawing near. a sign that Guwan's powers are in flux. As they head home, Do-hee, feeling vulnerable, asks Guwan for a piggyback ride. In that moment, she confides in him, admitting that despite her happiness, she feels guilty for not fulfilling Cheon-suk's final wishes. Guwan listens carefully, torn between his love for Do-hee and the looming threats that surround them. Meanwhile, Gwang-chol is communicating with someone named Abraxas online. Abraxas warns that something dangerous is brewing and that they need to act fast. Gwang-chol assumes the target is Guwan and Do-hee. The next morning, the police finally identify Gwang-chol based on Guwan's description, while the wild dogs report back to Guwan with the same discovery. However, before anyone can act, Gwang-chol is found burned to death. It's revealed that Sukmin was working with Gwang-chol and decided to kill him off once his usefulness ran out. The two had met in prison, and Sukmin had orchestrated Gwang-chol's release, only to dispose of him later. The police arrive to find Gwang-chol's body charred beyond recognition. Guwan, sensing that something is wrong, returns to his office to find a hidden bug, realizing that Gwang-chol had been spying on him. He deduces that Gwang-chol's death was not a coincidence, but a deliberate silencing to protect a greater conspiracy. He asks Bok-gyu to investigate further, but Bok-gyu insists Guwan wait until the full moon to regain his powers, fearing that he might be vulnerable without them. As they talk, Guwan notices all the clocks in his office have stopped. Realization dawns on him. His powers are completely gone. Rushing to the hospital, he checks on the girl he once healed, only to find her condition has worsened. He returns to Sunwol, where all his contracts with humans have been incinerated, symbolizing the collapse of everything he once controlled. His world is unraveling, burning to ash before his eyes. At Sukmin's home, Sarah discovers fragments of Sukmin's gloves in the fireplace, shaken by what she has found but choosing to act as if nothing is amiss. Meanwhile, Do-hee, relieved by Gwang-chol's death, believes the ordeal is over. But Seok-hoon disagrees, suspecting that Guwan might have killed Gwang-chol out of vengeance. Fearful of his new reality, Guwan seeks out the mysterious beggar woman from the bus station. She leads him to a hidden restaurant and reveals that she was the one who granted him his demonic powers in the first place. Now, however, Guwan is fully human. Desperate, he asks if there is any way to regain his powers. The woman gives him a harrowing answer. To restore his powers, Do-hee must die. In a chilling final scene, we see Do-hee lying unconscious on the floor as flames engulf her surroundings. Is she in danger? Meanwhile, Seok-hoon meets with Ga-young, who confirms that Guwan is no ordinary man. He is a demon who brings misfortune, leading those around him down a dark path. Episode 10 of My Demon opens with Guwan in conversation with the deity, grappling with the devastating revelation that Do-hee's death is the only way to restore his powers. The deity explains that their fates are intertwined. One must perish for the other to live. With the roulette of destiny in motion, Guwan is left in turmoil, torn between his love for Do-hee and the powers he once wielded. Meanwhile, Ga-young confides in Seok-hoon, revealing Guwan's true nature. She deceitfully claims that Guwan's intentions toward Do-hee are far from noble, suggesting that he seeks to take her soul. She points to the mysterious tattoo as the source of his power, stirring doubt and suspicion in Seok-hoon's mind. He returns to his office, diving into research on demons, only to uncover more disturbing truths that deepen his unease. At Sukmin's home, the tension is palpable despite his recent victory. With Do-hee relinquishing her inheritance, Sukmin is poised to ascend to the chairmanship. Yet, his mind drifts back to the day his mother brought Do-hee into their lives, marking her as an adversary from the start. As he deletes old messages exchanged with Gwang-chul, his son, Do-gyong, secretly observes this through a cloned phone. But why is Do-gyong spying on his father? Guwan, after wrestling with his thoughts, returns to Do-hee, trying to keep up a cheerful front. They spend a sweet evening together, eating her overly salted cake, talking about the end of the world, and watching movies until Do-hee falls asleep. As Guwan tenderly carries her to bed, He whispers his fears about losing her. Later, he sneaks away to visit the deity again, proposing a bold new deal. He wagers that if he can regain his powers, Do-hee should be spared. The deity, however, is skeptical, dismissing his newfound hope as misguided faith. The next day, Guan tells Do-hee about a potential way to restore his tattoo during the full moon. Delighted, Do-hee suggests they take the opportunity for a romantic getaway to Soksho, unaware of the true risks involved. She spends the day at the office, blissfully planning their honeymoon. Her happiness is shattered when Ga-young arrives to drop a bombshell. Guan is prepared to sacrifice himself for her. Ga-young, handing Do-hee a vial of poison, suggests that Do-hee should consider ending her own life instead. Guan interrupts the conversation, chastising Ga-young and reaffirming that she holds no place in his heart. Despite the shock of the truth, Do-hee asks for time to process everything. She confides in Bok-yu, who confirms the stakes. Determined not to lose hope, she tells Guan they will fight together, no matter the cost. Touched by her resolve, he embraces her, though the weight of their situation lingers. Elsewhere, Sukman's ambitions seem to reach fruition, as he is officially named chairman at a grand ceremony. He delivers a triumphant speech, oblivious to Su-an's growing concerns that their victory may be ill-fated. She tries to warn him, but Sukman is blinded by his pride, convinced that he has outsmarted everyone, including his late mother. Meanwhile, Guan and Do-hee head to the beach, determined to remain optimistic. They reflect on their journey together, cherishing their time as they prepare for the full moon ritual. As night falls, they brace themselves for whatever may come. Seok-hoon too is on his way, spurred by Ga-young's warning that this may be his last chance to save Do-hee. Back in Sukman's household, darkness creeps closer. After discovering Do-gyung's secret phone clone, Sukman subjects his son to brutal punishment, branding him with a hot iron. Sera hides. Sukman demands that Do-gyung prove his loyalty, pushing him to drive a car straight into the convenience store where Do-hee is shopping. As she speaks to Seok-hoon on the phone, the call is cut short by the crash. Guan rushes to the scene, only to find the store engulfed in flames. Seok-hoon and Ga-young arrive shortly after, but Ga-young tries to stop Guan from risking his life. Despite her pleas, Guan declares he cannot live without Do-hee and charges into the fire. Seok-hoon, paralyzed with shock, doesn't intervene immediately, but soon calls for help as he regains composure. Inside the burning building, Guan finds a farewell note from Do-hee, revealing her intention to sacrifice herself for him. Just as debris falls, knocking Guan unconscious, the scene shifts to the deity, watching the events unfold with a knowing gaze. She acknowledges that humans, when faced with such choices, are bound by love and destiny. In a moment of clarity, Guan regains consciousness and crawls toward Do-hee. As soon as he touches her, the tattoo transfers back to him, restoring his powers and saving them both. Outside, Seok-hoon and Ga-young watch in awe as Guan emerges from the flames, carrying Do-hee to safety. She stirs awake and, realizing they are both alive, asks how it's possible. Guan softly tells her that the tattoo returned to him, and they share a moment of disbelief and gratitude as they hold each other close, defying fate together.